What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday night. Welcome to a special post-game Sixers edition of Chips and Dish here on the All About the Birds Network. I am your host, Chip Keggy, a.k.a. @Chip for the Birds, joined by an all-star elite panel this fine evening. We got Phil, we got Don, we got Adam, we got Manny. We're going to have Rich. We're going to have Frank. We got a whole squad of people tonight. To talk about a variety of Philadelphia-related things. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing?
Amazing, of course. Let's be honest.
Doing good. Yeah, I mean, I think we all could have wanted a better outcome. And we'll get into the ins and outs of that, but
yeah,
I think I think tonight was the night where you realize how valuable Embiid is.
Yeah.
To both sides of this team on the offense and defensive end.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so let's pay some bills up front, and then we'll jump into the nitty gritty of it all. So first off, again, All About the Birds, we have a variety of sponsors and partnerships, starting off with 99jersey.com. AAT Birds is the code you use at checkout. Use that code for the dads and grads in your life. 20% discount, lots of good stuff. I am not wearing a 99 jersey tonight. I was more Sixered out / Phillies out, but we'll get there.
Got my Kobe jersey on the way.
There you go. See, things are happening. Manscaped.com, of course, your balls will thank you. Use the code AATBirds for 20% off and free shipping at checkout, again, for the dads and grads in your life. More importantly, for the ladies of the dads and grads in your life. And we got Statement Games, a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. The link is in the show description for my gambler people. You know, Phil will tell you all about that. He uses the Statement Games. He uses the oddsjam.com. Again, all kinds of links in the show description. And, of course, our own shop, aatbirds.com/shop.
So I'm rocking that tonight.
Is that what you're rocking tonight?
I got my Set the Trends, you know.
There you go.
Shirt on here, you know.
Nice one.
I don't just preach it, I wear it too, you know.
You guys got some new Devontae Smith, some new Jalen Hurts.
We do.
Right. Up there.
We got lots of good stuff. We also have some, I think we're putting some Thrust the Process shirts up there too.
Nice.
So apparently, well, let's get right into it because we needed to thrust the process tonight.
They got to ring the bell on Wednesday night, correct?
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. So, all right, we already got comments rolling in. Let's look at these right away. Adam wants to talk about the refereeing, and I agree. We're going to have to talk about the officiating. that even though it was the most one-sided officiate, we said this right before we went live, even though it was the most one-sided officiating I have ever seen in my entire life, you can't blame the refs for a win or a loss. It was just, they were terrible. It was the Wizards and the referees versus the Sixers tonight minus Joel Embiid. I mean, does anybody disagree with that?
I actually disagree a little bit.
Okay.
Because the refs have been atrocious this entire series, not just tonight. And it hasn't just been against the Sixers. They've blown calls against the Wizards too. So they've been just doing a terrible, terrible job on both sides this entire series. Yes, we see the Sixers missed calls as Sixers fans, but there have been just as many awful calls against the Wizards as well. I mean, this officiating crew has been just straight, a straight train wreck this entire series for both sides.
I think for me, and I'll go back to it in a second. I think for me, the most stand-outish thing for me was every single time when the Sixers went down the court, they were hitting the deck. They were hitting the deck. They were hitting the deck, and nothing was being called. Yet, apparently in Washington, and I guess we know this from political things, they've got some great acting coaches in Washington because the flops and trips and everything that Washington was getting calls, I mean, it was absurd, the discrepancy between the two teams. I mean, Adam, what are your thoughts on other Adam's comment? How was the officiating tonight to you?
I thought it was, again, horrendous. And kind of like you kind of said earlier, like, it's been horrendous all series. This isn't just one game. I remember game one saying this officiating was horrible. And, to say that blame it on the Sixers loss, no, because they had horrible officiating game one and they won by 20. So I think it played a part in losing tonight, especially in the fact that we lost by points. I was not very happy. I was always taught as a referee, if your name is in the conversation after the game, you didn't do a good job.
Right.
Yep.
A Joel Embiid injury is going to be taking second conversation to the level of officiating. That's just truly how it's going to be. They were missing calls. Washington was getting all the calls. That should have been a flagrant on Westbrook towards the end of the game.
Right.
I agree.
Mark Zumoff was saying, calls like this happen all the time. Like, I've seen lesser fouls get flagrants, and Russell Westbrook happened to Simmons. It's common foul.
And I think that's something that, and again, Adam, you and I both officiate. As soon as you start not calling a lot of fouls or you start letting things happen, it turns into, well, let me see what else I can get away with. Let me see what else I can get away with. And all of a sudden it becomes unsafe to play the game. That game tonight was borderline unsafe. You saw Embiid go down, and he's done that before. You saw Bertans go down. I mean, you saw players getting legitimately hurt because it got out of control. I mean, Manny, let me throw it to you for a second.
Oh, thank you.
Did they under officiate? Did they over officiate? Did they officiate one way? Did they provide an unsafe game?
They did provide an unsafe game at this point. Like we said, we talked about already. Like, this is not just one game; it's been out through the whole series. But today it showed that if you are really inconsistent in your calls, it can affect the players itself, not just the game. I mean, let's be honest. Like the Westbrook foul, that should be a favorite one. Maybe I'm talking about it as a Sixers fan, but the fact that he lunged in this day and age, any other game, I'm pretty sure that it'll be called a favorite one just because he intentionally tried to stop him in the air. Not because he was, trying to get the foul or the contact or the N1. He intentionally tried to stop him. And that right there in this day and age game, 20 years ago, that could have been a regular foul.
Right.
That's But with the new rules and regulations, that's a favorite one. Simple as that. And
I think the other thing for me, man, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Dwight Howard just
disappeared.
I don't even know how to describe how they officiate Dwight Howard. Like, there's the NBA set of rules, and then there's the Dwight Howard rules. Phil, you're shaking your head furiously.
I mean, literally, I put out a tweet earlier tonight in the middle of the game. I think it was during one of Dwight Howard's moments that literally, you can literally fart and they're going to call the foul on Dwight Howard. He's literally in the porta potty off the side. He's farting in there, and they're calling a foul on him. It boggles my mind that they could just blatantly get away. This ref crew, and I know they're graded per series and all. If this crew gets another playoff series after this, then I've lost all faith in whoever is responsible for grading these referees. Because again, like I said, it's both sides of the ball. Yes, tonight seemed to be more against the Sixers, but this whole entire series, these guys should not get another playoff gig for the rest of these playoffs. And they should be broken up as a crew. And they should be split off into, with other people and all. Because it's been just like, I forget which one of you said it. When we're talking about the first thing we're talking about in this show
is referees.
I've got my list of the order of reasons why we lost. The fact that we've spent 10 minutes and we haven't talked about anything but the refs just
goes to show
that's how bad they are doing this series.
Well,
that's a problem.
Chip, to speak to something that you were mentioning earlier, the biggest problem I had with it is the inconsistency.
Yes,
absolutely.
That you have some fouls that are called in the first quarter that weren't called in the fourth quarter. You've got some fouls that are called on the Washington end that weren't called on the Sixers end. Like, if you're going to call it one way or call it another way,
but you have to.
But and that feeds into, Chip, what you were saying about it being it then becomes unsafe because as a player you start to read, okay, this is a foul, this isn't a foul. I can do this, I can do this. And then when the player with the inconsistencies now speak to the fact that, like, okay, now I don't know what I can and can't do. Now I know. Now that to me was frustrating part about this, that that this team fully healthy doesn't stand a chance against the Sixers.
No, they don't.
Minus Embiid tonight, they still were within earshot of winning this game. Now, something else that we'll get into later is, the Ben Simmons down the stretch has to be better at the foul line. Oh, yeah. He has to. But that rule, the hack-a-shack rule, drives me nuts because it literally takes all of the strategical on-court play out of the game, and then
they were fouling him right after the inbound.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like there wasn't it was a part of it was the defense. We were going to foul you right away. Right away. Now, the one thing, and again, and after this, I really, like Phil was saying, I want to be done talking about the refs. Yeah, the refs were bad, but I'm not going to spend an hour just trashing refs. The last thing I'll say as a ref is, and as an actual official, I'll say this. When I umpire a baseball game, right, the first inning and a half is when I establish my strike zone. You might disagree with it, but the key word we say is consistency. If I've called that low outside strike every single time, you might disagree with it, but that's going to be a strike today. When you have a game that looks like it did tonight, officiating-wise, it is unsafe. You cannot have a game where, and you even heard the announcer say it. Oh, well, they're calling this on Dwight Howard because of, his foul history. He has a tendency. So you're not calling the play. You're calling on the history of how he plays. That can't happen. That cannot happen.
And that's pretty sad about the whole thing because, like he was getting, into that groove all of a sudden. And then, you stop the game because he, that was a one flop and they call it on him, and the next thing you notice, he's having another foul call on him for a legal screen that, I didn't see anything illegal about it, but I guess, I'm not the ref. So again, it's some of the inconsistencies again. And like you said, we all talked about, it's the beginning of, it's not game one, it's game 5, game 4. So, not to, fully trash the referees, we as a team should have, took that into consideration and try our best and so forth. And we kind of did, because if you look at it, towards the middle of the fourth quarter, we were in close range. But next thing you notice, it was like, foul here, traveling here. By the way, they call it travel for the first time. That's how one of the comments.
Yes, they did.
For the first time in like the whole series. But, we should have taken that into consideration when you had a game plan in place. And granted that Embiid is injured. Could we call it an injury? Right now we don't know because it's early reports. But it's one of those things that we should have kept that in back of our minds, me as a player, will keep the back of my mind when I'm playing tonight that yes, I might get called for the most BS calls. But at the same time, like I want to get this over with so that way we can get ready for the next game or next series. So.
And you have to push through it. All right, so let's refocus. We're done trashing the refs. The refs were bad. We know it. Let's talk actual basketball. So list for me, and not list for me. Tell me your most concerning thing about tonight. Because for me, there's a couple. You could go with the fact that Mike Scott had to play as much as he did because Dwight Howard couldn't stay on the court. You can talk about the fact that Ben Simmons could not make a free throw and has not made a free throw this whole series. You can talk about the fact that Joel Embiid has an injury and how serious of an injury, or did they just say, you know what, we should be able to win this game. Let's rest him. And, if we have to play a game 5, we play a game. So what is, and we're going to start with Adam, what is your biggest concern leaving this game tonight?
So I think for me, like, there's no hiding that Embiid is the center point of our offense, the center point of our defense. Our entire team operates around him. There was just no energy and chemistry I felt as soon as he left the game. I just felt like the team was, they're all out of sorts. They couldn't, bad passes, bad shots. Robin Lopez is scoring.
I forgot about that one. I forgot about the fact that Robin Lopez dominated the Sixers tonight.
So it's things like that. Like, you just felt like our whole team was, just out of sorts. And I get, players can have, an off game, but it felt like everybody wasn't playing well. Tobias played horribly. Seth wasn't taking that 3. He was taking 5 steps forward and going for a long 2, which, was like, this time last game, you're thinking you're your brother out there. And then, Danny Green, his last game, is thinking he's Seth's brother. He had obviously some big shots, but and the team, just decision-making, the energy, the chemistry, it didn't seem like – they seemed like they're already on the bus ready back to Philly.
Yeah,
it seemed like as soon as Embiid was out, all like you were saying, like all the energy was sucked out of the team, and they really you saw how much they really struggled, and the attention that Embiid gets and how much that opens up that pace and space style that they love to play. You saw that when the attention didn't have to be on Embiid, well, now those looks that are out on the perimeter aren't there, and just kind of speak to your point, Adam. I think the biggest thing is making sure that Embiid is healthy moving forward, whatever that means, because this team does not function the way that it needs to without him.
See, and we keep talking about, excuse me, we keep talking about how it killed the Sixers' momentum losing Joel, but it also was a shot in the arm for the Wizards. Once Joel was out, it gave them a boost. Like, well, now their best player is gone. We have a shot.
Attack.
So we got to look at it both sides, just like the rest. Both sides. Losing Embiid affected both teams. It hurt the Sixers' momentum for sure, but it gave the Wizards so much momentum as well. And you have to take that into account as well. Look, are we going to lose this even without Joel Embiid? We're not going to lose this series.
No.
But on the flip side of the equation, we can learn some things about this team based off of this game.
No.
Right. Go ahead, Manny, because I know you have some thoughts and concerns as well.
Well, we talk about the Embiid, not being on the court and that chemistry missing and so forth. But like we talk about Robert Lopez that dominated, the paint today, and that's that right there. The fact that like the middle of the court, like that paint area, is so like open that a big man that basically we haven't heard from the whole series comes in and drops 20 some points on the paint alone. Like that's ridiculous. And I hope that Dwight Howard does get come back to the point that he can be some defensive presence and so forth. But it's just crazy how that one person in one area can dominate when the other person who's been dominating the whole game, basically the MVP, is missing. So
right, and I think you do see you do see how important Joel Embiid is to this team. I mean, that goes now without question. And they were a different team. And, to hear the announcers go, oh, well, they looked out of sorts. Of course they looked out of sorts. Mike Scott was not supposed to play tonight. The only way Mike Scott was supposed to play tonight was in mop-up minutes. And there he is going 0 for 3, shooting three-pointers. So not only is Mike Scott playing, but he's jacking up three-pointers and missing them. Well, you know what I mean? Like, he hit 0 points.
That is his game, though. That is his game.
I get it, but it wasn't his game tonight. He has 16 minutes of play instead of going in and getting rebounds.
If he's playing 15 minutes, there's something wrong.
He had 2 rebounds tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to look at the 16, 17 minutes he played, and if they were Embiid's minutes, we talked about, what they did to Washington. They out-rebounded us 57 to 48. Yep. If Joel plays those 17 minutes instead of, Mike Scott, the whole thing changes.
Yeah, it's a different conversation.
Oh, completely.
But he didn't. So now you need to go, okay, well, Dwight Howard, again, we said, got into foul trouble, played 13 minutes, but got into foul trouble when he had to turn to Mike Scott. You saw some of their bigger guys absolutely light it up. And then more importantly, you saw the attack, right? Bradley Beal attacking, Russell Westbrook attacking, Ish Smith, Robin Lopez, Hashimura attacking. There was all of a sudden no defensive presence. And on top of that, you had Ben Simmons with all the fouls that he did, making it impossible for him to play the defense that he is. So my question then goes, why did Thibault not play more?
No. Good point. I mean, let's be honest.
He played 15 minutes.
Whose minutes do you want, Thibault to take there? 15 to 20 minutes is the max he's going to do. I mean, maybe you could take 5 of Korkmaz's 11 minutes, maybe, but
what I'm saying
you're taking away the offensive production there then.
But if Ben Simmons is on the bench for as much as he is, why not put in at least a strong defender? You know what I mean? Like, the points can come from they can come from anywhere. But to say that Shake Milton was a better option than Thibault there?
Shake Milton played 7 minutes of basketball tonight.
I understand, but those 7 minutes could have been better used for Thibault playing defense on one of the big guards.
At least half of those 7 minutes, Matisse was on the floor as well. You might have given Matisse 2 more minutes. I don't want to question the Matisse minutes. I want to question Doc Rivers with the Maxey minutes. Yeah. Because in the fourth quarter, Maxey was bringing this team back. He was sparking this team. At about the 6-7 minute mark, he brought all 4 starters, minus Embiid, back on the court and left Furkan Korkmaz, who had a little bit of a burst on the court, and pulled Maxey, who was, really the Energizer Bunny there. I think that was a huge mistake from Doc.
I agree.
That could have that all of a sudden, once they pulled Tyrese Maxey out of the game, all of a sudden the momentum kind of just it sputtered out a little bit.
I think you're going to see him. I think you're going to see his role increase as this team starts to progress. He's going to take that role of leading that second unit over from George Hill.
And he played 22 minutes. He got minutes, but based off of the way the game was going, it should have been 25-28 because he should have stayed in there at the end of the game.
He should have played the end of the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you even look at – I just look at, losing Embiid compared to Gafford having the game that he did. Gafford played great. Does he play that well if Embiid is the choice?
No. I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Does he play that well? That was Adam trying to fix his audio. Does he play that well if Embiid is still playing? Because what was happening in the first quarter is they were basically doing center by committee. And then you look at the final breakdown, and Alex Len played 1 minute and 23 seconds the whole game.
Yeah.
None of their performance that the Wizards put on tonight post Embiid leaving would have been better if Embiid was on the court. Like their positive play and the way that they were able to get to the rim and attack the rim and go in there with no fear, because who's in there? Mike Scott? Like Mike Scott is there instead of Embiid. So whatever you were going to get from whatever you thought the guys from the Wizards were going to get, whether it was Gafford or Lopez or whoever, well, their performance goes up exponentially now because there's no interior threat by anybody.
Yeah,
they're not scared about anybody. They're going to attack with no fear of anybody because the Sixers didn't have anybody that was going to stop them.
Yeah. Right. And, and I'm looking now, Doc Rivers is basically saying, look, you guys are keeping this Ben Simmons narrative alive, which I think is insane. Ben's not a 40-point guy. That's not what he does. He does so many other things for the team, which I agree with. Look, if you're relying on Ben Simmons to score 30 to 40 points a game, you don't understand what his skill set is. Yeah. So then I dig a little deeper. Ben Simmons, and again, we know the foul trouble was a problem, finished with 13 points, finished with 12 rebounds, had a double-double. The part that bugs me is he finished with 3 assists. So he's on the court for what purpose? It's to be the facilitator of the ball. Tonight, that was not him.
Now, Chip, listen, a lot of those assists are going to be with Embiid on the floor.
True. Very true.
They're going to be pick and rolls. They're going to be where they're going to be things where Embiid is going to dive to the basket and Simmons is going to dump it off. So when that interior presence is not, that interior scoring presence is not there, those assists now have to come from jump shots, from 3 points. They're not coming from layups. They're not coming from – so I'm actually not surprised that the assist number went down because a lot of those easy assists came from Embiid dishes in the low block or in a pick and roll.
Right.
Yeah, I think like for Simmons, like with his assist numbers going down, kind of like what Don said, he can have the great pass, but whoever catches that ball needs to make the shot. And I'm sorry, but the 2 people that were going to make those shots, and even the guys off the bench, weren't making those shots tonight. I mean, again, it goes back to Embiid. Like kind of like I said, like Embiid's going to get a lot of those assists. So is Tobias. Tobias didn't have a good game. Seth didn't have a great game. So,
Seth was 0 for 4 for shooting threes tonight.
Yeah,
it's literally his game.
Can we touch on the fact that Seth Curry limped off the court about a minute left in the game, and no one's touched on that? You don't see anything on Twitter anywhere that he came out for the last 30 seconds of the game there. You lose Curry, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That's a very big deal.
Nobody's talking about that anywhere.
I did not know.
Because look who else got hurt in the game.
What's that?
Look who else got hurt in the game.
Because Joel Embiid got hurt and the officiating was bad. Yeah. So when we talk about issues, Phil, you're bringing that one up because, we have to talk about that. If they lose Curry, who, again, like Adam said, had a bad game tonight, 0 for 4 shooting threes, finished with 10 points, but it wasn't an exciting 10 points. It was just he had 10 points. Yeah. But losing him as that option is an issue if he is hurt.
But, Chip, like when Simmons, even on those, when he's passing the ball and it's a jump shot, when Embiid is drawing, when he draws 2 defenders, that jump shot is the guys are taking jump shots without the defender in their face. Tonight, when that assist or when that pass is made, it's now a contested shot instead of a shot where there's space in between the defender. So it's not only the fact that Embiid would normally draw that attention and get the ball within earshot of the basket, but that when that pass is going to another player and Embiid is drawing multiple defenders, that jump shot is now more open for that player too.
Yeah. Right. I mean, let's be honest. If you look at all the things that happened today, the Wizards did not change any of the game plan. The officiating, we had that conversation earlier in the show. Everything was just going against us overall. I mean, Embiid getting hurt, Seth Curry. I did not know that he was limping out. And again, it's probably my fault for not noticing that. But at the same time, that's not the narrative that the TNT or whatever sportscasting crew is doing. They're more focused on the fact that the Wizards were up by as much as 12, 14 points at one point. And that was oh my god, without Embiid, the Sixers are doomed, that stuff. It's okay, fine. And B is hurt, but like we got other players. And the chemistry at the end of the day, like chemistry, like we had this problem the whole season, and now that we're in the playoffs, like we're gonna be killing that whole thing. They had no chemistry. They got Ben Simmons, needs to score 40 points, and it's like he didn't score 40 points, I don't think at all this season, right? I think the highest was what 30, 32, 36 points.
I'm not sure, but I know Doc Rivers, like currently during his press conference, is absolutely going off. He's like, apparently you guys just want me to bench him the whole game. And if somebody wants me to do that, like reach out to me and I'll tell you that you don't know basketball. Ben Simmons is a very important part of this team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He did not have a great game tonight because he couldn't get in a rhythm because he was constantly getting called for fouls.
I mean, the fact that the foul that they called within 12 seconds of him being in,
that was a flop. That was a flop. Like they said on the announcer said, they went in to the locker room and said, how can we get Ben Simmons right back on the bench?
Right.
Start dancing.
Just
look, we could talk about Ben Simmons' free throws. What did he went 5 for 11? So that's 6 free throws missed. Even if he made 3 of those free throws, we still lose the game. I think the number 2, I have the refs as the number 1 reason this game got out of hand. But the number 2 reason I have that this game got out of hand, a guy that I have proudly supported since day one, that's Tobias Harris. If you would have told me Tobias Harris was going to have 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, I would have been like, that's a great game. But how many times was he blocked tonight going to the rim soft? I counted at least 5 or 6 times he had his shot blocked tonight. I mean, he needs to be better.
Phil, a couple of those blocks were by Ish Smith.
Exactly. 2 or 3 of them were Ish Smith.
Yeah.
You have Tobias Harris. I am a huge supporter of him. I love Tobias Harris. I think he is worth every penny.
100%.
But he had just as much of a bad game, if not a worse game, than Ben Simmons tonight. 1 for 5 from 3. He doesn't need to take 5 3-point shots a game.
No,
he just doesn't. No. When you're getting guarded by Ish Smith, you shouldn't get blocked, and you also shouldn't have to do like fadeaway 15-foot jump shots. You should be able to take him right to the rack and score.
Body him up and score. Absolutely.
Right, So Tobias Harris, to me, was the biggest criminal in this game outside of the referees.
Yeah, I mean, and you look like you mentioned the block shots. I mean, if we're just talking block shots, so I have the official scorers report, like I'm looking at it on my other screen. The Sixers as a team blocked 6 shots. Right. As a team. Gafford himself blocked 5. The Wizards had a total of 12 block shots. You cannot allow Bradley Beal to block 2 shots, to have Ish Smith block shots, to have, the other guys are tall guys. That's their game. But Bradley Beal and Ish Smith should not be blocking shots. And against guys who are significantly taller than them. Ish Smith,
it's not like they're not defensive wizards we're talking about.
No.
If Matisse gets a blocked shot or Danny Green, they're smaller guys, but they're defensive guys.
Danny Green led the team with 3 of them.
Anybody. Westbrook is not a defensive wizard. They're not putting their effort on the defensive side of the ball. So, whether you want to say it's the refs being lenient on one side or the other so they feel like they can get more aggressive because they know they're not going to get a foul called on them, whatever you want to say. Tobias Harris cannot have his shot blocked that many times. No. Tobias Harris cannot go 1 for 5 from 3. Tobias Harris, when Joel goes out, needs to take over the game. He did not take over
step up.
Tonight. He was 8 for 24 shooting the ball tonight. That just cannot be. If you're going to be a star, the number 2 scoring option on this team, you got to be better than that. And I think if you take the refs out of the equation, Tobias Harris lost this game for us tonight.
I mean, if you take the refs out of the equation, I would agree with that, along with, the injury to Embiid. Now, moving forward, I always said that this series would go 5 because you knew the Wizards were going to steal 1. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook have been. You look at the regular season matchup, they did a number to us all regular season. So the fact that they took 1, fine. We're coming back to Philly on Wednesday night. I do think the series ends on Wednesday. I would almost be willing to put money on it. And I don't bet, but Phil, I might be willing to actually place a bet that the series ends on Wednesday night. I know. We'll have a conversation off the air on that.
Look, if Joel Embiid misses game 5,
it's a toss-up.
But they know about it ahead of time. It doesn't change the momentum of the game. They can have a game plan going in, which, again, I have Ben Simmons as the 4th reason we lost this game. I have Toby. The refs than Toby, and then I have Doc Rivers because Doc Rivers did not make the proper adjustment. Like, you take the Maxey getting benched in the fourth quarter out of the equation. He did not make the adjustments. He did not motivate these guys. These guys on this team lost all focus once Joel went out, and that's Doc's job to rally the troops, to gather the troops up, and be like, "Yo, guys, we're still a better team without Joel than this Wizards team. They should have swept this series. They should have won this game even without Joel tonight." And so I'm putting blame on Doc Rivers majorly, for that.
And again, I think rightfully so. So in my mind, the series ends Wednesday night, which means I have a whole nother week before the next Chips and Dish, which means I have to ask this question. And Adam, I'll start with you. Who would you rather face in the second round, the Knicks or the Hawks? And who do you think we're going to face? I remind you, the Hawks are up 3-1 currently over the Knicks. So Adam, starting with you, sir.
So I do want to say, I will agree that I think the series is going to end on Wednesday. One, it's going to be a sold-out crowd in Wells Fargo Center. I'm not sure the Wizards know what they're walking into. Second of all, this game tonight, it seemed like everybody on the Wizards had their best game of the entire series, and it seemed like everybody on the Sixers had just every bad thing that you could imagine. And B gets hurt, Simmons can't shoot, Doc can't coach, no one can shoot, no one can do all that happened, and we still lost by a few points. So
true.
Sold out Wells Fargo Center. Russ messed up, man. You should have got out while you can. But what's the question?
Who do you want to face, and who are we going to face?
So I get on tangents sometimes.
No, you're good. I was almost getting my popcorn ready.
Face the Hawks. I think it's gonna be a Hawks both ways.
Should put a spotlight.
I don't want to face the Knicks at all. I think Randall has played phenomenal against the Sixers this season. He's been a good matchup with Embiid. I think, the Hawks, they have Trae Young. Let him put up 50 points. That's about it of who's going to be scoring for them against Philly. I think it's a better matchup, especially if Embiid's healthy. He's going to rip Clint Capella a new one. I like the Hawks matchup way better than New York.
All right. Manny, how about you? Who do you want to play? Who are we going to play? Second round.
So I'm looking up right now, and it looks like the next matchup would be more favorable for us. At the end of the day, just the fact that, like, looking at the numbers and stats and the scores for the last 5 or 6 games we played them, the Knicks will be the better matchup for us overall. You said coming back from a 3-1 deficit is like not impossible, but nearly impossible. So, like, I mean, the Hawks, they might take the series. Also, Trae Young and so forth. Do I see the Knicks coming back? Who knows? I mean, the Knicks basically blew all of us this year because they're the fourth seed, like out of nowhere. So, but I would say the Knicks be more a favorite for us, but the Hawks will be the one that we'll end up facing. And if it is the Hawks, I can see it going to like 6, 5 or 6 or 7 games. Easily.
Okay. Don, what do you got, sir?
It doesn't matter how you do.
Thank you. I'm glad you have sound effects. I would have had that ready to go too.
It doesn't matter. There, not a single player, not a single one of those teams matches up with this team. It doesn't. Nothing about the Hawks or the Knicks scare me at all. Like, fully healthy, the Sixers are far better than both of those teams. So, you can talk about Clint Capella, you can talk about Julius Randle, you can talk about Trae Young, you can talk about all those guys, right? Now, and the Hawks are a young and up-and-coming team. They play with a lot of energy. They like to go up and down the floor. That's great. But they don't match up with this team. If you put Ben Simmons on Trae Young for 35, 38 minutes a night after night after night, could there be a chance where they get a game?
Right.
Maybe. But I'm going to stick with something I said a couple weeks on a show. We said when we were kind of previewing the playoffs. The Sixers should be able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals in less than 10 games. In less than 10 games, they should be able to close out both the first and second round of the playoffs and be waiting for either the Bucks or the Nets. And you're going to watch the Bucks and the Nets battle it out.
That's going to go 7. That's going to go 7.
That is going to be a battle back and forth. I think I'm 100% on board with you. That's going to go 7. But these two teams,
it doesn't matter how you're doing.
It doesn't matter.
I think one thing, like, I don't think there's a question of who if the Sixers could lose to the Knicks or Hawks. I truly think that's out of the question. I think it's who can we get out of quicker? Who can we get done with quicker? Because like you guys said, Brooklyn and Milwaukee is going to be a dog show. They are going to fight constantly. It very well could go to 7. I want to go into that series well rested and as healthy as possible.
Well,
so which team can we get out, be done with quicker, so we are fully healthy, fully prepared to take on? My guess is probably going to be Brooklyn.
Don't underestimate the fact that in 2 out of the 4 of these games that they've played so far, their starters have played in game 2 and 3. Their starters played, correct me if I'm wrong, but like less than 28 minutes.
One guy played 29 minutes in game 3, and that was it.
Right. So that rest is going to be huge moving forward. One, and I think also the playoff experience that some of these young guys are getting now with Maxey and Thibault, especially those two, that's going to be huge for this team moving forward because those guys are going to be 2 key contributors to the bench play in year 2, 3, 4 of this team.
Right. All right, Phil. I know it doesn't matter.
Don, can you play the clip one more time for me?
This unforgettable vacation.
Oh, that wasn't
this unforgettable vacation.
At all.
No, that one works too. It's going to be an unforgettable vacation.
Look. I'm going to be really short and sweet here. If Embiid plays every game, we have 5 more games till we get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Correct.
Yeah.
I said the Sixers would sweep round 1 and round 2 because with Embiid healthy and all.
Yeah.
All right, you lost today because Embiid went down. You had to play Mike Scott 17 minutes. If he's back next game, even if he's not back next game, we win the next game.
Right.
If he's healthy for the next round, we should sweep the Knicks and the Hawks. You know, there really is. It doesn't matter. Neither of those teams. The Eastern Conference is literally super. The Knicks and Hawks might not even have made the playoffs if they played in the Western Conference.
They wouldn't have.
I'm not scared. I don't fear. It's a 4-game sweep of the Knicks or the Hawks. It doesn't matter. Plain and simple.
All right. So who's going to be our next opponent?
The Hawks.
It's
I
probably
mean,
gonna be
they're up 3-1. It's so hard to come back. It's just as hard as it is 3-0. 3-1 is just as hard to come back from. So the Hawks now. I thought the Knicks would win
call me
series.
superstitious on this. I'm not saying no on that.
What's that?
Yeah, don't call me superstitious on that one. I just hate being as a coach. I'm not, being superstitious here. I hate, that whole it doesn't matter. Let's wait for the Nets and or the Bucks.
I'm not looking past them. I'm still looking at it.
Manny, I listen. The Hawks are very talented. John Collins is a great player. He's a great defender. He's a great 3-point shooter. Lou Williams coming off the bench. Trae Young. They have a ton of talent, and I am not overlooking that at all. So when I play that clip and I say it doesn't matter, I'm just saying that neither one of those teams match up with the Sixers. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not saying that.
I said before the playoffs that Trae Young and Devin Booker, those 2 guys, they're stars, and the playoffs were their opportunity to show whether they're superstars. And Trae Young and the Hawks they're beating the Knicks. So he's taking that next step in his star rising and all. But again, Trae Young's not going to put up the series and the numbers he's doing against the Sixers unless we get the same ref crew who's just totally against us. And, again, another fart happens and we get 5 fouls called on us.
It must be a hell of a fart.
It knocks people over.
Really smelly one.
Well, speaking of things,
true.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, go ahead. I was going to wrap up the Sixers, but go ahead, man. You have the
although I do have one spotlight I want to ask, and it's very, very hilarious in the whole thing. But I just want I call me devil's advocate in this whole thing. I just want to make sure that we stay on the same page. That we don't want to be like it doesn't matter, but then next as we're down, we're tied 2-2, and then what the hell happened and all that crazy stuff. So I do have one spotlight.
I saw a tweet. It was like on Wednesday night, bet the Sixers by a zillion.
That was Phil sending out tweets during the show.
And Phil, I know you said
but I do think
I lived in Cleveland in 2016 when that Cleveland team came back 3-1. So no lead is I saw how no lead is safe.
Hey, I would love the Knicks series to go 7 games because that would give Joel and Seth Curry. Again, we're forgetting about Seth Curry's injury. He limped off the court with a minute left in the game. We're forgetting about that. There's not one comment on Twitter right now about Seth Curry's injury.
No, nothing.
We win next game on Wednesday night. The Knicks go 7 games. That's bonus because that gives Joel and Seth and everybody just time to rest, heal up, and be good to go.
For sure. All right, Manny, say your thing because I want to make sure you get your point in. Go.
All right, so my spot. All right, so I don't know if you guys noticed that fan who tried to run in the court and the team tackle the security guard did, but I was really impressed. He should have been signed by the Washington football team on the whole thing. But I understand that everybody's going back on the whole going to the stadiums and watching the games live, and this is very exciting. But please, even our fans, let's be honest. Please, keep it together. Let's enjoy this so that way we can enjoy this more excitingly than trying to go crazy and throw popcorn or a bottle or spit or even try to run in the middle of the field. It's getting out of hand and stop acting stupid. Simple as that.
So I
2 weeks ago, the Phillies had a game and it happened.
No, I was going to say this was one of my topics for tonight because it's really starting to piss me off. And Adam, we're going to talk about your article that you wrote last week when you may not have remembered the article that you wrote last week in a second. But basically, here's what I've noticed in the last week. Popcorn being thrown onto fans. Trae Young being physically on at the Garden. Kyrie Irving getting a bottle thrown at him, a water bottle thrown at him, and that fan being charged with assault with a deadly weapon. He could face 10 years in prison for that. And again, just on the Twitterverse, I came across this lovely one from 2 hours ago, which I'm going to share with everybody. This is the first, you guys get to view this once for the very first time with me right now. Hang on. If I click the right things. But it ties into the point that Manny was basically making and that I completely agree with, because if you remember a couple years ago, this turned into a big issue. So hold on, let me do this. And I'm going to take down the banner so you can all see it. This happened literally 2 hours ago.
Here's Blake Hasselbrock's first pitch to Nash, and it's up and in, hits Nash in the front shoulder. And now a fan has come onto the field, running at Hasselbrock, and now the Midland dugout clears as a fan has run out from the Hooks dugout. The entire Midland bench has cleared, the bullpen coming out as well. And
so my question for you is this.
Holy smacks.
Number one, how does that happen? And number two, if you guys remember, back in 2004, there was an event known as the Malice at the Palace, where Ron Artest went running into the fans and beat the living shit out of a fan. We are facing dangerous times. People need to leave these players alone. If you want to go and watch the game, go and watch the game, but stop trying to be a part of the game. This is absurd. Someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to be a fan. It's going to be a fan. Adam, before we go any further, share with me the premise of your article that you wrote half in the bag. Go ahead.
So I had to reread it right before this, but thanks for pointing that. But
listen, that's what we're here for. It's 10:50. You're good, brother.
If I wasn't still at work, I probably would. But no, I mean, you go to these games and you want to watch, you want to enjoy it. But these players are humans as well. I kind of was getting a conversation with someone today about it's like with fantasy football when I remember when players they are running back stops 5 yards before the end zone and garbage time and that could have won the game. Mm-hmm. And then they tweet at the players saying, I hate you. I hope you die because you just lost my fantasy team. It's like they don't care about your fantasy team. They don't care about you, kind of, in a bad way.
Shouldn't.
But these fans, you got to enjoy the game, respect the game, because you keep doing this stuff, you're not going to be able to go to the game anymore. And then, with Russ and the popcorn, the guy got hurt. Yes, Russ has been public enemy in Philadelphia for a while. It is no hiding Embiid and Russ hate each other. Philly fans hate Russ, but he's one of the top 5 guys in the NBA, all-time triple-doubles leader, on his way to the Hall of Fame. You got to respect the guy. You got to respect his game. You don't have to like the person. You have to respect his game. And to throw popcorn, first of all, you just wasted $20. That's $20 worth of popcorn you probably just threw on the man.
What a great point. What a great point.
That's actually the best point you could have brought up. Right
that's the only point that needed to matter. That water bottle that was thrown, that's another $8 right there. I mean, you're literally throwing money away. Literally doing it.
But again, I remember one thing, again, the media then goes, oh, Philly's just a dirty fan base.
Well, right.
Then I saw a video on Twitter. It was the entire stadium cheering for Russ as he left the court. And then, the stuff with Kyrie. Oh, my God, he stepped on the leprechaun. Boo-hoo. Maybe if you all didn't say, fuck you, Kyrie, for 2 years while you were there, he would, maybe have stayed. But no, right? You treated him like crap. Oh, my God, he stepped on a court. Boo-hoo.
Yeah,
listen, when I was in high school, I was a school mascot in high school, right? After my knees went to shit, I was like, I still got to be a part of this. I was a school mascot. Yes. I was a Trojan man. That's that. Yep. I was the Trojan man. So let's just go from there. I just killed Manny, right? But did I one time go to an away game a little inebriated and do a giant A-Town stomp on the logo and almost get the shit kicked out of me at a sold-out high school arena and got escorted out by the police? Yeah. So stomping on a logo matters. However, it's the same thing. I was not a part of that game. I had no business being out there. Now, it's a little bit more than the fans, but I had no business being out there. Let the players play. Let the fans fan. You can boo. You can heckle, but don't go onto the court. Think about any other job. Name me one other job where, Don, tomorrow I'm going to run into your classroom and just start pelting you with stuff while you're teaching. That's gonna be cool, right?
Pause. That has happened between the two of us.
I know between you and me, it has happened. We've definitely done that to each other. That's definitely happened between us.
Throw snowballs at our teacher all the time in high school.
The ticket into the game allows you to be entertained. It doesn't allow you to then act a fool and do anything you want. Without, I'm glad that the dude in Boston is getting arrested. I was kind of upset that the guy that threw popcorn on Russ didn't get more than just his season tickets revoked and not be allowed back in the building. It should have been more excessive. When these numbskulls run on the court or the field or whatever, it should be a more severe fine because it's the only way that you're always going to have some idiot that's going to run on the court or that's going to do something like this, but it doesn't give you the free reign to be able to then make it a dangerous environment for the players. And I always remember the scene from A Bronx Tale when they're talking about Mickey Mantle doesn't care about, like, they don't care about you. Like, they're there to play a game. You're there to watch them play a game. But they don't give a shit about your fantasy sports. They don't care about your fantasy football team or if you lost your game or not. Like, they don't care.
And I go to the next level of it. Like Matt's saying here, how did that fan get that far? So when they stop the game, now normally they make a big deal about how, this fan has run out of the court and we're not showing it because we don't want to encourage it. But then they spend the next 5 minutes talking about it. I'm like, you're still encouraging it, but But my concern then jumps into, all right, well, how did he get that far? And we all know security's kind of a joke. So what if he's carrying a weapon? What if he shanks somebody because he's got a knife or a pocket knife or something? Like, you think the refs made it an unsafe environment? This kind of stuff makes it an unsafe environment. You're going to end up having like hockey. You don't have this problem. Why? Because there's barriers. You're going to have that with other sports if this kind of stuff continues.
Well, and it doesn't surprise me if the players come out and be like, we don't need the fans. Right? We were cool playing.
Put up a barrier so they can't get in.
We were cool playing. Like I've seen a couple of them on social media be like, it was kind of cool to play when no one was there because there was not, like, you didn't have any of the interruptions. You didn't have any of this kind of negative interaction. So it doesn't surprise me when the players are like, no, y'all can watch us on TV.
Look, they're never going to get rid of the fans.
They're not
going to do it.
They would never do that.
But what I want and what I need is equal. So unless it comes out that tonight's fan was a Sixers fan at the game, there's going to be nothing but a little blurb, if anything, about it. Okay, the video you showed, Chip, from that. I don't know if it was a little or
minor league.
Was it minor league or college? Whatever it was, that may or may not show up on SportsCenter. What I care about is the fact that when it happens in Philly, it's this huge ordeal, and then when it happens everywhere else, it's whatever. I spent a lot of time. I spent years traveling the world for work. And all I got everywhere, okay, we're talking 2003, 2004 when I was traveling for work.
Wait, can I guess?
I put my work hat on from that. What?
I'm going to take a guess, right?
Well, you should know where I worked.
No, I'm saying when they're like, you're from Philly.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And then, didn't you guys throw snowballs at Santa Claus?
Exactly. Something that happened in 1967 or whatever is what I was attacked with. Because that is all we're known for, okay? And it's an embarrassment. But it's because the media, the national media, does not cover all the events that are going on a regular basis in every city. If there wasn't Twitter, would we even know that Padres fan got knocked out cold at that baseball game? No, because it wasn't talked about. But if that happened at a Phillies game, it would have been front and center. And I'm a very, very proud Philadelphian. When I was traveling the world, I couldn't wait to tell people I was from Philadelphia. And if they were a sports fan, that was always the first reaction I got. You threw snowballs at Santa Claus, so you must be a bad person. And one drunk person did that. Well, and it disappoints me. And it's the media's fault.
The backstory on that whole situation is even funnier because they weren't booing Santa Claus. They were booing the guy who was dressed up and was drunk and was horribly dressed up as Santa. Not that they were booing Santa Claus. They were booing a drunk guy in a Santa costume.
Exactly.
But it feeds. I mean, it feeds right into that, and it's lazy to go right to that. And
it's a great term. It's lazy.
It's lazy.
It's lazy. And again, we've talked about. That was my episode last week. It's the lazy reporting. It's the lazy narratives.
But also look at
do it. Do the job. If you're going to be a sports reporter, if you're going to be an announcer, do the job.
Right.
I hate to
all five of us would kill for that opportunity.
I hate to side with the media, but look at the two big games that we're talking about. Game 1 for the Sixers Wizards. Pretty uneventful game. the biggest story of that game truly was the idiot throwing popcorn.
No, I disagree with you on that because it was an 8-point game. It was a little bit closer than games 2 and 3. There was an actual solid basketball game played there.
Brooklyn and Boston.
No, I agree, Phil.
Again, like, it wasn't the most exciting game, though. It wasn't like tonight where there was, 35 different things. I think that's why the idiot running on the court is probably going to get not as much media attention. I think the only reason it's going to get media attention is because that security guard should be playing for the football team.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's embarrassing when you're traveling like I was, and that's all you're known for. And like I said, proud of being from this city, but the outside perspective of this city for a few things is created by the media. That's why I always say, hashtag why I don't listen to sports talk radio anymore. It's why I don't pay attention to major stream media sites very often, because they have an agenda to push. And the agenda right now, and the agenda always is bash on Philly and not anybody else. Literally, I guarantee that minor league game from tonight that you showed will not be on SportsCenter. It will not be on First Take. No. It will not be on Get Up tomorrow morning.
And that was the most egregious out of everything. Absolutely. Out of everything, that was the most egregious. That fan got on the field and took a swing at a pitcher. That was the most egregious. Do you remember?
It was a I think it was a Royals game, maybe about like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when our fan jumped and attacked the first base coach.
Yep.
Oh, I remember that.
That, like, literally, he was wailing on it, But again,
it was a father-son.
What's that?
It was a father-son thing.
A father and son, exactly. And I think it was a Royals game. It was a blue baseball team. That's all I remember.
I remember that too.
Yeah, but you know what? That got a little bit of attention because of how severe it was. But if that would have happened in Philly, that would have been front page on. They would have been breaking news on CNN, taking Wolf Blitzer off the screen and putting that up on the screen. That's the difference in comparing Philly, what happens in Philly, and what happens everywhere else. And again, it bothers me big time and embarrasses me big time.
No, 100%. And speaking of bothering and speaking of embarrassing, we got to switch gears for the final topic tonight. Y'all, the Phillies suck.
I don't have a Phillies hat to switch to.
Don't even
you
bother.
Shouldn't. Don't bother.
I always
don't
have
bother.
a hat here to switch to.
It's not even worth it.
Philadelphia Phillies have lost 9 of their last 12. And the quote from our manager is, well, it's not early anymore. Like, how people go, oh, well, it's still early in the season. Joe Girardi said it's not early anymore. I watched the game today very, very closely. Let me rephrase that. I watched the ass whooping very, very closely today. They got the shit kicked out of them 11-1 by the Cincinnati Reds. They got swept by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays over the weekend. This is a bad baseball team. And the thing that jumped out to me as the most, I don't want to say heartwarming, but at least honesty, if you listen to the Philadelphia Phillies broadcast team today, Ricky Pitalico, Davis, Amaro, Kruk, all of them, they're pissed off at this team. Like, this is a bad product. This is a bad baseball team. This cannot happen.
And the bad
part happen when you have the 6th highest payroll in baseball or whatever it is. This team. So, and it really comes down to, I know I got attacked on social media for saying this a couple weeks ago, that you have to at least have the discussion of blowing the team up. But the whole point of that was bringing up the fact that Joe Girardi is a big letdown as manager of this team. He is making a lot of bad decisions. He's not motivating the guys that are out there. And we talked about developing talent, on this team in the years past with the Kapler era and stuff like that. Who's he developing? So the Kapler era didn't develop anybody. Well, the Girardi era isn't developing anybody either.
I think the one guy that really needs to step up is Dave Dombrowski. We know what he's done before at his other stops. We know what he's capable of.
Right, but
I think.
So what's he supposed to do? There is no farm system to trade.
Yeah.
So the only way you can get pieces to trade is to trade a Bryce Harper, a JT Realmuto, a Didi Gregorius, a Zach Wheeler. You trade those big pieces, then you get some minor league talent. Then you can trade for. So you're going to have to take 2 steps back before you can take 1 step forward with this team because there's so many holes.
You need, in order for Dombrowski to make moves, you've got to have stuff that other people want. and we don't have anything that anybody wants in our farm system, and we don't have and the guys that are on the major league level. I mean, the only guy who is like relatively movable is probably Segura. Like,
and he's already been on so many teams.
But he's
the only
movable
player
for
that's movable.
Middle of the rotation, reliever, and that's about it.
There's not a place. They're in such this purgatory of like mediocrity where they don't have the ability to be able to get the pieces in place to be able to move, but they don't have the pieces to actually play the game. Like they're so they suck.
I know. Phil has wanted to blow it up.
No. I don't want to blow it up.
You think it's time?
That is the only way to take a step forward is to blow it up.
Right, but Phil,
you have to trade 3. I said from the when they signed Bryce Harper, I've said on this show, I've said on other shows 100 times. The day they signed Bryce Harper, I did 2 things. I went, yes, if we don't make the playoffs in his first 4 years, by the time the end of year 5 comes, he won't be on this roster because he's going to want out of here. You might as well move the guy because at this point, are we going to win with him here? You might be able to get 2 or 3 decent prospects for him. Zach Wheeler, you might be able to get 2 or 3 great prospects for him. You might as well because otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to be the Andre Iguodala, Philadelphia 76ers in mediocrity, competing for the last playoff spot for the next 5 to 7 years because there literally is nothing that Dombrowski can do. They're already maxed out up to the salary, the luxury tax. So what are they going to do? They're not going to go over the tax until they're a World Series contender, which they're not going to be in the next 5 years. Dombrowski, he has potential to be a great GM and president of this team, but he is being handcuffed by what has been left here. I mean, there literally is nothing to do with this team.
And Phil Rich on our show last week came up. I mean, he's been saying the same thing you have about like, is it really time to like really start taking a hard look at like how long do you ride or die with this group? Because by the time you end up flipping this situation around and you're actually contending, those guys are going to be old and on the back end of their deals. So
look, this team isn't that much different outside the bullpen from last year. It's the exact same team. So it's not like they're underachieving this year. They were underachieving last year.
Right.
The year before that, they're going to be underachieving next year. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again.
Correct.
Well, and that's the thing that we talked about, and I know we talked about that on the preseason show. It was the rewrapping of the same package. So, Manny, I'm coming to you now. If we are coming, what is the point of, as we approach the trade deadline? Is there a point where we have to go, okay, this is not the team and blow it up? Okay. Or is there still a way to bring this team to make a run this season?
Like you said, it was a same package, just rewrapped. And at this point, if you're in office, like, we have to look at it. Okay, do we want to stay with this team or blow it up? I personally want to blow it up. Like, just blow it up to shreds. I mean, right now we're like not compete for anything. So what's the point of, keeping this team together and being like, you know what? Maybe we'll get a wild card too. No. Forget that. Like, blow it up, get some trades, get something going, make moves. Show people show the players inside that you're serious about contending for a championship. If you don't show them that,
you know why they'll never do it, Manny? Because then they won't have anybody to put asses in seats.
It doesn't matter. You know what? We go to full capacity next week or whatever it is.
Okay,
they're not filling that stadium next week. With this squad.
But if you trade all those guys, the reason they're not doing it is because they're trying to put butts in seats. And if you trade all those guys away, then you got nobody. Like you're not going to
go right back to last season.
Correct.
When even if there wasn't a pandemic, you would not have, or the season before that, where even if there wasn't, you couldn't fill the stadium.
Correct.
You couldn't do it.
Even so, with the whole assets and seed situation and so forth. How many times we can say that, if we don't have the Bryce Harper, nobody's going to show up. But if the team is literally winning How many people are going to jump on that bandwagon and be like, I'm a Phillies fan, but you weren't here last year when they were like 15 games below 500. Well, I'm a Phillies fan now, am I? It's one of those things. It's a catch-22. Okay, fine. You can have the Bryce Harper year 6, 7, and 8, but guess what? So what? So you can contend for a wild card too at most? Like, come on, like that is literally like as a fan, I'm like, yo, that is just dumb. Like, I'd rather take that farmhouse system and exploit that whole thing completely. Get that person that has 100,000 K in his pocket that he's gonna give me that 110%, than that one guy that's gonna give me, we paying him $375 million, and he's gonna bat, a 250 and say, "Oh, I had a good season." Like, no, like that's how the game should be played.
They're not going to blow it up. You know why?
Not. No,
because they're 4 games out of first place right now. For as bad as they are, for as bad as they're playing, they're literally right there from first place. So Dombrowski can sell Middleton. Dombrowski can sell the city on the fact that, look, we make 1 or 2 minor trades. Let's trade Spencer Howard, or we'll trade, one of these few distantly talented players, or trade Segura, whatever it may be. And we can make a run at the division, because it's just like the Eagles trying to win the NFC East last year or this year. When you're in a bad division, it gives you hope. And that also gives the GM and president making these decisions false hope to make bad decisions, making moves.
And you know what? And that's
the thing that you're saying. It's, look, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they held on to players that at least could sell tickets. The Philadelphia Phillies, they're not going to trade Bryce Harper. They're not going to trade JT Realmuto. They're not going to trade they'll trade Gene Segura, but they're not going to trade Didi Gregorius. They're not going to trade Wheeler. They're not going to trade Nola. Why? Because those are the people that have jersey sales. They're the players that the Phillies fans want. But you kept rolling a guy like Roman Quinn out. Now, I hope that Roman Quinn gets healthy, but now more than anything, you've now really solidified that Odubel Herrera is your starting center fielder, at least for the rest of the season.
And that's going to keep people out of the stands.
That's going to keep people out of the stands. Is this the Odubel curse? I don't know. It's just, that's fine. I don't see them getting rid of these players.
I don't see them doing it. I'm just saying it might be the best opportunity. Like I said, sometimes you got to take a step back before you can take 2 steps forward. The Phillies at this point are not going to be a World Series contender in the next 10 years with the current direction that this organization is taking.
Not at all.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being a hopeful and optimistic, pessimist fan, but give me something that I could be like, you know what, I want to stick more along. Even for a player, like give them something to be like, okay, maybe I can bust my butt a little more. I mean, let's be honest, the front office itself, like they do all these moves and all this stuff, and it's like, what the are you doing? Like, let's be honest, like we said, Joe Girardi has not produced as a manager at all. Like he's basically been a figure. That's what it is. Like, you want to sell sell jerseys? Like, put Joe Girardi as a manager. Bam. And that's it.
You might as well fire Joe Girardi at this point.
Well, and that was going to be my question. At what point does Joe Girardi fall on the sword for this team?
Right now? 2 weeks ago? Shit. I mean, Dusty Watland, or whatever his name is, could have gotten the job instead of him and done just as well. At least he had a good relationship with some of the young players from AAA when he was the AAA head coach or manager. So, you know what? You promote your third base coach. You get rid of Joe Girardi. Obviously, his voice is not working. Girardi, look, I was excited when they hired him. I wanted him from the get-go. Thought he was the right guy. But I always admit when I'm wrong. Girardi's not the coach of the team.
I think we're finding out that Joe Girardi was more a product of being involved and managing a Yankees lineup that, let's be honest, one of the 5 of us could have managed that team and rolled.
I would have done a great job.
Lineup. I mean,
I loved it.
So I think that's what I think we're seeing, that Joe Girardi was more a product of his environment than he was of actually being a good major league manager.
Absolutely agree with you.
Let me ask this. Is it a Philadelphia Phillies problem? Adam, I'm going to come to you with this. Is it a Philadelphia Phillies problem because you're looking at the success that Gabe Kapler is having in San Francisco? Is it a problem with the Phillies or is it a managerial problem?
I think when it comes to managers in baseball, you truly have to find the right guy for the roster. I'll bring an example. Boston. Alex Cora, what he did, obviously, that's not making an excuse. But look at the Red Sox team last year. And it's COVID. Red Sox are a good baseball team this season. He's back at the helm. So I think it's, finding the right manager for our team. I don't think Gabe Kapler was a bad option, but he wasn't right for the Phillies. I don't think Joe Girardi is the right manager for a team that's trying to rebuild. He's the type of manager that it's your team keeps losing in the pennant. Here's the guy to get you to the World Series type of coach.
But we're set up. We're not set up right now to be a rebuilding team.
No,
the organization is selling us as fans as a winning team that we should be competing for the playoffs. So it's not just Joe Girardi; it's the whole upper management organization and their philosophy that's failing. Then,
but I think we got to find the right coach for this team who can coach. Like someone said, in the NL. Managing a baseball team in the NL and managing a baseball team in the AL are two different things.
Yeah, I think Phil, you're right. I mean, he's not I think when they hired him, I think they thought they might have been that close. And they're finding out very early on in this marriage that they are light years away from where they thought they actually were. Because I think they thought that they were that leadership move away from really vaulting themselves into contention for the NL East and making a significant playoff run. I really think that they thought they were that one piece away, and they're finding right now that they're on the complete opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah, they're
Joe
not where they think they are.
Make it to next season because they like Don said, they thought he was the guy that could take him to the next level. Clearly, he's not the guy.
Nope.
If they're serious about making a run and they think they have the team, if he's the manager of next season, they know they're not competing. If he's fired,
you bring up next year, Adam. Next year is when the offseason, you've got Trevor Story, you got all these great free agent prospects. We got Dombrowski who spends money, no problem. But none of those free agents are going to come here.
Who's going to want to come here?
The way it's being run right now.
Right.
So we need to make these decisions now.
Dave Dombrowski, just give them money and they'll come.
Yeah. You're going to have to give them even more money to get them to come here. But
all right.
Yeah.
Listen, it's getting close to the witching hour. I want to give everybody a chance to with their one final point about Philadelphia sports. So, Manny, I'm going with you first. What is your one major point for Philadelphia sports that we need to know about right now or think about?
My one major point about Philadelphia sports. Actually, I have none. Actually, not none. I always got everything. But basically, the thing about sports and even Philadelphia fans, we put our emotions on our sleeves. And we talked about the fans and all that stuff. And we talked about how Philly fans get a bad rep for everything we do. We peg Santa Claus. Whoop-de-doo. That's 50 years ago. Let it go. We threw Westbrook popcorn. Maybe he was hungry. We don't know. Let it go. So at this point,
he was hungry.
Maybe he was hungry. I don't know. I wasn't in that game. I was just watching it from the comfort from my couch. But we the sports itself, going back to the Phillies, the whole thing, we can definitely make sure that we can try our best to to do something. Let's get it going. Let's get our voices heard in the right way, not in a negative way. And hopefully that can actually, get that, let's say we talk about the trades and so forth, get that, thing going and so forth in there. So that's one thing I want to say about Philly. Not say sports, but fans, because I love
it.
Yeah.
Don, take it away, sir.
I think for me, I want to just say, hey, listen, be passionate, be a fan, cheer your team on, but that ticket does not entitle you to be a jackass.
A part of the game.
So be everything that Philadelphia is. Be hard nosed. Be tough on your players. Be honest with them. Be upfront. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. But that also doesn't mean you get to be a jackass.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah. All right, Adam. Adam, your final thoughts. Go ahead.
Kind of what they've all been saying. Like, enjoy the game. Appreciate the game. But I think also the big thing, appreciate the people you get to watch and play. This fan, you had the opportunity to watch one of the greatest point guards of all time, and you decided to throw popcorn on him. Appreciate the greatness. He could be. There might never be a player like Russell Westbrook again, and that's going to be your last and only memory of ever seeing him in person, was throwing popcorn on him. Appreciate the game. Appreciate just the greatness that you get to watch. When I was living in Cleveland for a few years, for the first 3 years I was living there, I got to watch LeBron James. I could walk down the street and watch one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Appreciate the greatness and just appreciate the game. I don't care how your fantasy team is doing. Learn to manage a fantasy team better if you're going to blame the players.
There you go. There you go. All right, Phil, take it away. What do you got, sir?
I was going to do all this talk about Philly and the fans and all, but they all did it and all. But I'm just going to reinforce that for 1 second, then I'm going to go on. Look, there's going to be a lot of eyes on our city in the next couple weeks, months, with the Sixers making a huge run. Yo, people, let's represent our city properly, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that, because the other guys all summed up all my thoughts, even Adam saying, respect the fact that you're watching greatness sometimes on the court. I talk about that about a lot of athletes. When you see a great player, respect it, because you might not never see a player like that again in your lifetime. But the other thing that I'm going to touch on then, if we're going to talk about us respecting, what's going on, the eyes that are on our city, the media out there, whether it's the national media like, ESPN, the sports talk radio and all, let's be fair to the city too. Let's not portray one idiot the wrong way and make that an accompaniment of what the entire city is about. Okay. True. Why I use the hashtag, why I stopped listening to sports talk radio. It's because it's always the same old crap all the time. There's lots of great podcasts. We like to think we're like fake media people here doing podcasts, but the real media that are getting paid for a living to do this, they represent the city. They represent the eyes and what's said about us and all. So they need to do a better job as well. Just us as fans have to do better, but the media has to do a much better job, or they're going to be continued to be laughed at as well by all of us podcasters that are out there.
Damn right. My final thought is this. Look, tomorrow is June 1st. It is a big day in the NFL. We did not talk NFL at all tonight, but it is a big day in the NFL as far as official cuts and official going away and players moving on. We're going to cover it all Wednesday night as best as possible with what we know. But all I'm going to say is this. Please remember that these moves have already been made. They were just waiting for the calendar to turn. The season for the Philadelphia Eagles is not made or broken tomorrow. Don't overreact. Enjoy the ride. Please understand that some of these players will be joining this team tomorrow or leaving this team tomorrow. June 1st does not guarantee us an NFC East title or a Super Bowl win. Do not overthink everything that happens tomorrow. It has already been done. And Phil's already ready to talk about that point, but we're going to talk about it Wednesday. My gentlemen, I appreciate it. It's approaching the witching hour. One more time, I'm going to pay the bills.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Again, I want to thank my gentlemen for joining us. Adam, Manny, Don, and Phil. Phil, sorry, you're over there. Woo-hoo. Phil,
whatever.
He's over there.
Wherever.
Listen, I'll get it one of these. It's just not today. Make sure you're following all of us on the social medias. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, all about the. Oh, see, you can't be doing that, Phil. It's like the Brady Bunch up in here.
Switching it up a little bit.
I respect it. 99jerseys.com for the dads and grads in your life. AAT Birds at checkout for 20% off. Also, we have manscaped.com AAT Birds for free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Don't forget oddsjam.com. Do not forget Statement Games. All of these are in the link for the show. Again, we are live tomorrow night for... Go ahead, Phil. Promote the show.
We'll be talking about the Memorial, a big golf tournament. As always, we'll talk about last week's, Jordan Spieth's collapse at the Charles Schwab Invitational. Hey, we make money. We make money on the golf betting and the golf fantasy stuff. You don't need to wait till football season to make money. You watch tomorrow night's show at 9 p.m. Jason and I, we rock it out every single week. Yeah, and Mike knows. Mike is following the show regularly, and Mike's a gambler. Mike's making money off of our content every single week.
There you go. Wednesday night, all about the Birds. Eagles weekly report. We break down all the moves that are going to happen tomorrow. And then we have Birds, Beers, and BS, a YouTube exclusive. The draft show is now a YouTube exclusive. We got a lot of programming. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Don is on Drunk on Broad. You guys are going live tomorrow if Rich can fix his computer, I'm guessing. I'm pretty sure I'm making an appearance on that show as I'm driving home from umpiring. I got to call a bunch of little kids out tomorrow night.
Nice.
You guys talking about anything fun tomorrow? What are you guys doing, Don?
So tomorrow night is kind of a caveat on something we've been trying to push out, which is, trying to give people platforms to promote their content. So tomorrow night is kind of a collab between having a bunch of the smaller podcasts on as guests, as a way to kind of put their content out and let people know where they can find it. And then just talk, everything, obviously Sixers is current content, anything that happens, Eagles related. And I'm sure we'll take some time out of our day to bash the Phillies a little bit.
Why? Why ever would we bash the Philadelphia Phillies? They're such a good baseball team. This has been Chips and Dish. Every Monday night we do this. Go Birds, as we end every show here on the All About the Birds Network. And as we end every show here, I'm out of beer, so we out of here. Peace, y'all.
Support for All About the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. Manscaped hooked us up with a bunch of tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, including the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with an LED light for a more precise shave and is waterproof to make your shower shave clean and easy. The Perfect Package also includes a deodorant for your undercarriage to prevent odors and chafing, a reviving lotion, a pair of boxers and a t-shirt, not to mention a travel bag to store all your grooming goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code AATBIRDS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.